Faust is a different take on the escape room genre than we've encountered before. Rather than discovering the story, the puzzles and the space yourself, you're guided through the whole thing by the titular character of Faust, speaking to you from the beyond. Interestingly, in some ways it actually works quite well, but then in others it falls flat to the ground. The setup to Faust is pretty straightforward, although some of the narrative problems start right here. Faust is dead, but his soul is caught in limbo due to his actions when he was alive. Put simply, he has done something unforgivable, and now God wants to punish him. Your job then is quite an awkward one. You have to save Faust from eternal punishment while simultaneously uncovering his sins. So, in a way, you help a criminal get away with his crimes, even though they seem to be extremely mundane. The name of Faust might lead you to expect pacts with the devil, satanic rites, and a proper horror-inspired room. In that case, Faust the Escape Room will never deliver, since it focuses on Faust's simple and somewhat silly love affair with a woman named Margaret. The Faust escape room is decently decorated. It aims high for the secluded rooms of a priest or a mage, maybe inside an old tower of a castle or a church. There's an array of knickknacks and cobwebs in the corners. The designers have even tried to create a couple of religious stained glass windows, and they've drawn some rune-like letters around the walls of the rooms as well. The lights are dimmed, and they will change throughout the game in order to guide your attention and make sure you stay on the strict narrative path you have to follow, all of which is well done. However, this is also all there is to the room. It never opens itself up to further investigation beyond the puzzles within these four walls. In fact, you could argue that much of the creator's attention to detail has gone to the more mechanical and electrical puzzles, and obviously also the video projections of Faust himself, who appears inside some kind of mirror in the middle of the room. It's actually quite spooky when you see him in the very beginning, because he speaks with a deep voice and looks transparent like a ghost. The whole idea that he is following us and guiding us from beyond is actually not bad, but as the game progresses, Faust becomes annoying due to several factors. Number one, Faust controls the story, he controls the plot, he controls the puzzle solving itself. Number two, thereby he ends up controlling your entire experience of the room, making sure that any sense of immersion and accomplishment goes out the window. Number three, he's not good at English. We actually ended up ignoring several of the projections because we couldn't understand what he said. Number four, he's a projection, and the projector is standing inside the room, both clearly visible and very noisy. If the set design is just okay, the big puzzles are certainly more varied and fun to deal with, mainly due to the aforementioned technical solutions that have been fed into the game. The different puzzles in Faust are linearly designed around Faust's continued plot narration. According to himself, he will take you on a journey through 5 chapters of his life. In the end, it turned out to be actually just one chapter divided into 5 sections, but these sections are all constructed around a row of puzzles that have to be solved. After the accomplishment of each of these sections, you are rewarded with a magical stone that has to be inserted into a pentagram, 5 stones in total. In this way, the linearity both drives the plot forward and makes Faust an escape room for beginners. Also because there's a nice progression in the puzzles. They start pretty simple and end up being more complex, if also somewhat incoherent. The best thing about Faust is perhaps the variation. They involve religious references, and sound and music, water, and moving the furniture around as well. There are, of course, also a fair number of padlocks and keys to be found, and there are also more school-like chores to be dealt with. Overall, however, the gameplay does feel playful. It's always fun to feel the insides of a device, click into gear, and then look up to find out what was activated in the room. Still, by having a pre-recorded actor telling you the story, telling you all about the room, guiding you from puzzle to puzzle, that's actually a very lazy and easy way to construct a game. and the sense of adventure is hard to obtain for the involved players. The number one problem in the Faust game room was the language barrier we encountered. First of all, the entire game hinges on the actor playing Faust. He tells the story, he creates the plot, and he gives the hints, almost non-stop during the entire 60-minute gameplay. On the one hand, it ends up being very annoying, and on the other hand, you are entirely dependent on this technical gimmick. So, it has to work, obviously, and here it simply does not. The actor's English skills were so poor that we basically gave up following the story, as well as the hints. We really longed for some subtitles, or at least just the clues in writing, none of which was to be found in Faust. Unfortunately, our game master outside the room didn't do much better. She was able to see us and she communicated with us through the pre-recorded lines spoken by Faust while we were playing. However, as a game master and a hostess, she was extremely shy to a degree where she was unable to welcome us or say goodbye. She quickly disappeared behind a wall or behind a counter, avoiding eye contact, staring into some papers and looking like this was the worst day of her life. To be fair, these language issues are probably non-existent in the Czech version of the game. If we had been fluent in Czech and had played Faust in Czech as well, it would probably have made a lot more sense. So, in the end, Faust is an attempt at making a different kind of escape room game. The problem is that the driving idea about a pre-recorded actor directing everything in the game doesn't work very well. Yet, the string of puzzles is a nicely mixed bag containing a handful of fun electrical and electronic riddles. The Faustian over and undertones are, however, sadly missing.